One of the first things, I mean, as a new business, you get really excited. You want to get your business cards done. You want to have your name. You want to. Sometimes you don't want to register your business, and you don't think you have to do for taxes because you're just starting and you're not sure where you're going to go. My advice to you, as the very first thing, is that you do need to register your business, and you do need to register, or you should be registering for paying taxes, whatever that's going to involve, depending on where you're from. You could be like in Canada, US. Sometimes we have people from Australia on the call, so you could be. You need to find out from your local government whether or not you need to apply and register to pay sales tax, and that's going to be really important because it's actually going to influence how you do your billing and where you go forward in your business. Now, I'll tell you that in Canada, you don't actually have to register for sales tax until you've made $30,000. I really don't know why you would not want to register to pay sales tax anyway. It's not like you pay it. It's actually it's more that you have permission to collect it, and then the government wants to take it again. But it's actually never really goes into your pocket. So, but if you don't put sales tax, if you don't register for sales tax, then what's going to actually happen is that you are going to end up looking like you make less than 30,000. And I think as professional business owners, even if this is your brand new first business, you want people to know that you are actually making good money, and not even making good money, but that people want to work with you, and therefore you make the money. So that means a lot to people, that other people have used you. So it's important if you live somewhere where it's an option to register for sales tax. Don't take that option of not doing it. Make sure you do it, because perception is, very important when you are starting a business, and not even so much when you're starting a business, but when people want to hire you. So they need to know that you're going to be credible, that people want you and like you, and that they're making the right choice. So therefore, that would be one of the things you need to do. It also helps you in that same way when you don't have a big portfolio to show, right? So that's a big deal. So actually, I could talk about the portfolio. Since I can't get my screen to come up, I could tell you about that for sure. Ooh, this is annoying to me. Anyway, so about your portfolio. So a lot of stagers, and this is a very common question when I'm training new stagers, they have the question of, well, how am I going to get myself seen when I don't have a portfolio? And there are ways to do that really quickly, because all people really want to know is that you are credible, that you can do what you say you do, but they don't even really always know what they're looking for. They just need to know that, yeah, you can do something. Hi, Leah. They just want to know that you actually have had some training, or you have knowledge, or and they need it to be validated that they're making the right choice, because they're going to invest a fair bit of money in you. They need to know that you are who you say you are. I mean, honestly, there are some stagers who are amazing out there, and there are some stagers who are not so amazing yet, and they're just learning. And a lot of people who are hiring stagers don't even know what that means in the middle. So I think it's just really important that you have something to show them. So here's some ideas that you can do to execute your portfolio. One is you most definitely can use your own house. You can move things around. I certainly did. I have a book, which I don't know where it is. It's usually on my desk, a portfolio book, like a picture book, that I used for my first sort of year of business, 18 months of business. I used pictures from my own house, and I staged my house. I moved furniture from room to room. And all it took was a few minutes to take the photos and then to load them up into a photo book. And instead of having like a whole bunch of before and afters, I had some very key before and afters. And even if I didn't have the befores, I had the afters, which I could talk about. And I've said before, but one of the things that you can really talk about in your portfolio, or be prepared to talk about to a client, is the challenges that maybe that job brought you, or the unique things about that, the success parts about it, the challenges. So things like, we went into the property, and you can say this about your own property. You don't have to actually have done a job yet, but you can say, like, I'm just thinking as an example. One of my first ones was a bedroom that we had in our house, and it was really our kids' bedroom, but they were very little at the time. They didn't actually sleep. They kind of moved out of that bedroom and slept in a little tiny bedroom instead. So this big boys' bedroom was empty, but full of stuff that we had kind of thrown in this room. So I talked about that picture as that bedroom as, this was a spare bedroom that had been loaded with stuff. It wasn't painted. It was really valuable to a sale, but it looked like this, and it looked like a big mess, and we had to do something with it. So, and that was a challenge. And I could even say they didn't have a budget. They really weren't interested in staging, but we could do something for them. And this is what we did. And in that picture, I had a blow-up bed. I had a blow-up queen-size bed. I used bedding that I had started. No, I think I had like a coverlet that I bought for my inventory at that time. I hadn't invested much in inventory. And I just made the bed. I pulled in my nightstands from my master bedroom. I had a few little accessories that I had started to collect. And I used those, and I used what I know about creating that lifestyle element and attracting the right buyer. And it had been painted, but painted in not the perfect colors for staging. But I made it feel like it was. I took before and afters. Nobody ever knew that was my house. And I never told a client it was my house. But I had a before and an after, and I had a story about those before and afters. And another way to do that, and this is I really recommend in your portfolio at any time, is that you have a really good before and after. And you can tell you don't always have to have the befores, but you must have really good afters. Is that in that after shot, to be able to say, we started with this, and we during the consultation, we talked about decluttering and putting things away and finding a home for everything. We talked about the purpose of the room, that it needed to go back to a bedroom from a playroom. We brought in like a queen size bed, and nightstands made it feel like a really luxurious room. All those kinds of things. We tied in the blue in the bedding to the rest of the house, which was a lie because it was just my house. And but that's okay, because you're telling a story. And then if this was really a real property, then you can say, and it was on the market for 3 days, and it sold for $20,000 over asking, and the investment for them to stage was only $1,500 to stage the whole house. So you're in a position then to give them value. Hi, Adina. You're demonstrating your value. You're telling them that you have knowledge of the market, and that they should hire you because you've done this great job, and that you can make them money as well. If you made this person money and you did this great a job from the before that you had in the situation you have at the before to the after. Another piece to add into that is when you're talking about the story, is that what you started with and what you told them at the consultation and what the homeowners did to actually get ready for you to stage, and how that made a big difference to the sale of the property as well. Because then that helps to tell them why it's so important for them to do the work that you assign, that task list, that to-do list that comes up as a result of the consultation. So that's in a nutshell how you can, really ramp up just a few pictures. You don't need a ton. You can use if you want to use one house, or if you want to use an example of a bedroom and then a living room. And I remember my first one was that bedroom. I did it in one of our bathrooms as well, made it look like a show bathroom. And I also did our living room, which was really in kind of disarray, and I had totally the wrong furniture in it. It was not really where I was spending our time. And I shifted around furniture from my other living room and made it beautiful. I made it a real sitting room and really had a story to tell about it as well. And nobody was ever the wiser that this was my house. But I had, enough before and afters, 4 to 5 series. And that's all I needed, was to be able to tell them this is what I do. And as I said, they just want validation that you are qualified to do it, and that when they invest money in you, that they're investing money in something that they actually affirmed was a good investment. And you're a good investment when you can actually talk about a stat. So even if you took a class and you did and you might have done a live staging as part of your training, or you've mentored with somebody, you still can ask them, but you can still anecdotally use those stats and anecdotally use that story. It's really just to validate that you know what you're doing. Okay, so and you can do that in a book. You can actually put your before and afters on Houzz, which is a super free way to put your projects on projects and let them be seen electronically, and you can tell the story, just show them. The other thing you want to do too is, if you have enough before and afters, you also want to pick a before and after and a property that actually kind of mirrors excuse me, what this house is that you're looking at. Like, let's say it was a condo. So you might actually bring up a couple of examples of condo. Hi, Lori. You might also want to bring in not just a condo, but maybe it was a vacant condo. So you might bring in a couple of examples of a vacant condo. That also tells them the kind of inventory that you use, your style, and your breadth of knowledge and experience as well that you can apply. Excuse me. So you can use a photo book for that as well. And you can, in your photo book, you can write a lot of dialogue. I don't think you really personally need to. I think pictures tell a big story. And you can also use your, if you have a tablet, and have your tablet and have like a slide presentation locked into your PowerPoint into your tablet, so that when you go to the property, you're already set up and you can just pull it up and highlight the ones that you want to show them, or even make them pull them out so that it's a specific presentation for that couple. Lori, I've heard from a stager she feels not right to do a before for occupied. Your take on it? Okay, so here's the thing about an occupied. Occupieds are kind of scary for the homeowner and also for the agent, because I remember I actually had an agent not that long ago, quite upset with a stager that she worked with a lot, who kept posting the before pictures of the staging on Facebook and social media before the house was actually moving quickly on the market. And she was very frustrated because one of the homes was, almost $1 million home, and the homeowners had to do a lot of work to get it ready for staging. And this agent really didn't want all her potential buyers to see how badly they had looked after their property. So I think there is risk in doing that if you are going to, if you have the potential to screw up a sale because you're going to turn off a buyer. But if you're using that to demonstrate the value that you bring and the work that you're going to do, then I have no problem with that, Lori. Because the thing is that one thing that you really want to avoid whenever you're doing a portfolio like that is to not have any identifying features. So you're not going to say it was 21 Lois Lane. Oh my God, I can't believe that came into my head. 21 Lois Lane. And you're not going to put like the phone number or the name of the homeowner or anything like that. You're just going to say, and this was Lois Lane property. And, or not even Lois Lane property. This was a property, in a Scarborough property that we did in a similar size and similar style of property. And, and for example, this was the work that they did. Now, I have had clients who said to me, please don't use our before pictures. And I won't use them on my website or in anything that I would actually, more people would see. But if I was talking to a client and I wanted to demonstrate, this house, because I have one house I always think about that was, I use it in class a lot. She was getting dementia. Her husband had died. She was a lovely, lovely woman. I've known her for a long time, but her house had just gone to pot. And she was terribly house proud, but that when she had dementia went totally out the window. But for me, that story was a great story to be able to tell other potential clients that this is what you can start with and work with me, and this is what you're going to get at the end. And this is how much money we can make you at the end with this kind of investment. So I think you just never want to put any identifying features. You don't want to put that on your website without permission. I actually really think one of the things that you could do, especially when you're starting, if you have a story like that. Now, this is a little bit of time and investment, and it doesn't have to be monetary investment because you can do this inexpensively, is to take some of those before and after pictures, and you can do like a slide video, and you can put like some, you can either do audio over the top of it, which is easy, or you can just put text across the bottom that says, identifies what you did in this house, and with some music in the background. It doesn't have to take any more than 60 seconds, even less if you wanted it to. And that would be a great way for you to have something for you to have on your tablet or on your website that really demonstrates the value that you are going to be able to do. I think if you talk and you also have a picture of yourself, or you're live and you introduce yourself in that video too, that you really that is a huge way to connect with a potential client, because they've suddenly seen you and they know that you're real, and and that's what they. I don't know what happened to my PowerPoint. Sorry, I thought I'd try again, but it does not want to open. And so that can be very valuable too. So, and the thing with the videos is there are not enough of them happening. And we are in such a visual industry that I don't know why we don't do more of them. There are some stagers who've caught on to that. They use them as promotional pieces, but it's an opportunity for you to sell your portfolio, not just you as well. And I'm telling you, if you go into even into YouTube, you can pull together like a really easy video with photos and be done very easily. Sometimes it takes a little bit of nerve, but you know what? People don't need you to be polished. They need you to be you, and they need to see you. And so that's very important. And the good thing about a video too is that you can practice and you can edit it. If you really like doing them, you can edit them as well. And especially when you're new in the business, I think it's a great way to tell people all about you. You can have it embedded not embedded, but pinned on your Facebook page, on your business page. So it's the first thing people see of you. You could have it on your website, and people remember that. They'll watch videos and they remember it. So I think that's actually a really good way to start. So I think those are a few things about your portfolio. Now, of course, I can't still see my list, but basically, when you start your business, you're going to start with your business name. You want to register that. You're going to, you want to start the way you want to go forward. Yes, Kay, you want to get you want to get your client's permission, especially if you're going to do a video of their house. Because sometimes I use them for training, so I will ask them if they mind if I post some of the content into my class material, and they're always really good. As I said, I think I've only had one client who actually said, "Please do not use the befores," and I never use the befores, but I certainly use the afters, and I certainly talk about like what it looked like before, because it was terrible, and the amount of work that we can do. But I really liked the afters, so I wanted to show that as well. But for sure, you want to get permission. In fact, you can even put blanket permission in your contract. When you ask them if you can use their photos, also say that I'm going to use that we also often create videos as well of our work, and we would love to be able to add yours in as well. And so that they're approving permission for that, and that usually is okay. Enough permission. You don't have to get any more coverage, I don't think, to do that, unless you're using it and you're really going to widely broadcast it. But I'll tell you something, even one of the rental companies uses a photo that I did actually of the house that I'm not allowed to use the befores, and they use that all over the place, and they just had a blanket permission for me from the beginning, and now they use it wherever they need to. So you can do the same. Yeah, you can do that too, Lori. But your contract absolutely can say that by signing the contract, that they are giving you permission to use the photos, the before and afters, in your marketing materials without any identifying features. Okay, and especially you don't want any people in, so make sure you don't do that. Okay, so that's kind of a bit about the portfolio and video, and I think I think if you want to look, let's say I want to say cutting edge, but if you want to look like you're current and you're up to date, that's a really good way to make yourself look current and up to date. Because I think I mentioned this before. Ironically, YouTube is not used by stagers very much at all. When I go searching on YouTube for staging, I find things that are dated in 2011, 2012, and there might be like 2 videos on that stager's channel. And so it's this massive opportunity, because when you post in YouTube, you can then share it into your Facebook or and link it into all sorts of different places. So absolutely, I would take advantage of that. So you've registered your business. You should be registering for sales tax. You want to give your clients an impression that you are professional, that you make money, that people love you, and not charging for taxes means that you're saying I make less than $30,000. If you live in Canada, that's particularly the case. So, and I think the U.S. has a similar sort of process. So, yeah, you don't want to do that. if you don't want to. I know you plan to make more than $30,000 this year. So yes, and Tori Toth uses a lot of videos. They are quite time consuming to do. I will tell you that. Like, it's her business to do videos. That's why she's really good at it, and why she's spent a lot of time and training and effort working on them. But we can still do some pretty good, easy ones that work for us. We just do them nice and tight and stay on focus. But she does some good ones. So what else am I going to tell you from my little screen? It's about this big and I can't see what it says. I wonder if I printed it out, if it would work. Maybe I'll try that. No, I can't even get it to click on. Anyway, so those are the things that you want to do to get yourself started, like any business would. And yes, you want to have a business card, and you don't have to go crazy with the business card. The most important part about a business card is that you say who you are and you give them their contact information. It's not a marketing tool. It's an information tool so that they will get back to you, so that they have a way to reach you. So you don't even have to have a logo. Now, someone found, like my girlfriend found my old business card, my very first one, which I don't have here. And it was, maybe I'll do a shot and post it for you, because all it was red with a cream type in it. And I used the same font, and I made it a bit bigger with my name, and it looked really nice. I've said to her, I think I should go back to using that. It was so much less work, and it did exactly what it needed to do, which was to tell my clients exactly what they needed to do. And so that would be one thing. So Kay's asking about inventory. So there's a few rules of thumb around inventory, and it really depends on where your business is going. Now, I think in the past, we really talked about not building up your inventory until you had money to do it. And that's a way, definitely, you can still do your business. But that's a way to do it if you are not really sure how big you want to be, if you're not really sure what your bigger picture plan is. And we used to teach that a lot. I think in this day and age, and I'm seeing this a lot, where stagers are so busy and the industry is so busy that you have to have inventory, that the rental companies are super resources, but they are so swamped that they don't always have what you need, and they can't deliver it as fast as you might need it. So it's kind of coming to a point where where stagers are going to have to start thinking about having bigger inventory if they want to not wait for a rental company, or want to be competitive and want the revenues to come back into their pocket. So as you're starting, you can most definitely do a job, and you can decide that a percentage of that job goes back into building inventory, and it goes back into building inventory for that job. And one of the key things about investing your inventory is that you are investing in inventory that you're going to be able to use again. There is no point in buying pieces that are very specific for a property, especially when you're starting, if they're not going to be able to be used again and again and again. They have to be able to make you money in the first 6 months. And what your end goal is that you would like them to be used. Really honestly, you'd like them to be used, like if you're charging 20% of retail cost on your inventory per month. So if it was a lamp that was $100, you're going to charge $20 for that lamp per month. So in 5 months of renting, that lamp would be paid for. And then after that, it's all profit. So that would be our end goal, is that we're doing that. Now, if you're not able to make it work in 5 months, you at least need to be making you money within that calendar year, like within that budget year. So you need to have inventory. You need to think strategically about it. As you're starting out, you're going to really want to have basic stuff. And some of the most basic and most important and valuable that you will use over and over and over again are things like really nice, bright white bedding. What else? Bright white towels, nice pairs of lamps that you can use that have some glam and some luxury looking to them, like a luxurious look to them. So glass or metals, some bigger pieces of accessory, but not a lot. Some bigger pieces of art. I like big art. I think big art is much easier to use as a stager. It makes a big impact, and you can use it all over. But use art that has lots of different kind of color in it. And one of the ways to figure that out is, like if you're in Home Goods or Home Sense, is to pick up your art and take it over to the pillow section, and suddenly you will see a whole bunch more colors than you ever imagined were actually in that piece of art. And then that's a really wise piece of art to invest in, because you'll be able to use it across the board in your inventory. But nice big, like 3x3 pieces are the best to have in your inventory. You avoid having to have 3 or 4 small pieces. You know, when you have to hang art and line it up, that's time consuming. Although I did use a tool with another stager this week that was that she had was a level that sticks to the wall, and it has a beam that goes across, and so you can actually do your art, and that was very cool. I also figured out, I watched on Pinterest, just a little tip for you because it really worked. Pinterest had showed how if you know when you have mirrors or art that has like the keyholes on the side, and you're just like, I used to avoid them like the plague. They never went in my inventory because they were too long to go up on the wall, never straight, multiple holes, and it just pissed me off. So I just stopped buying things like that. But I watched on Pinterest how that if you take a piece of painter's tape across the back of the piece, and you poke a hole with the nail exactly where the holes are, where the nails are going to rest. And then you take that piece of tape and you make it level on the wall. So however you decide to make it level, and you put the piece of painter's tape where you want the picture, and you put the nail in each hole where where you made the hole on the back of the piece of art, and hammer into those holes, and take your tape off, and then hang your piece, and it just goes in beautifully. It was like, yay! It was beautiful. It's pretty sad when stagers get excited about hanging a piece of art, but we were pretty excited, and it really worked really well, very nicely. So someone was asking about rug sizes. Oh, I'm just going to ask Denise. You see a trend towards a series of 2 or 3. So here's the thing, Denise, about using 2 or 3. When you are staging and you are like, if it works to put 2 or 3 in, you can. But here's my dilemma about that. First of all, you are just eating up space. So there's no visual image. You're just eating up space. And too small art is just, it doesn't actually really add any value. The other part is, if you are hanging art and you're trying to make it level and put it in one space, the effort and time that takes to do that, when you have a big piece of art and all you needed to do was hammer a nail in the wall, it's like, to me, it's hands down that it's just so much less effort, so much less stress. It's done faster, and it's complete. And I also really love big pieces because I think they have drama, they add color, and it's instant that they're there. So like these two behind me on the wall here, those two little ones, they're constantly shifting and moving. It drives me insane. And you know, they're not always in the same place. So I've never really been a big believer in having a lot of small pieces for staging. I really think that the big pieces are the way to go. If you're really confident with your picture hanging, your art hanging, then go for it. But I don't think it adds any more value. And the thing is, if you have a series of art and it actually is of visual interest, people are going to stop and look at the series of art, and you really want them just to get the overall impression and walk into the property. You don't want them to be distracted by what's in the little pieces of art either. I also have a bit of an issue too with I like framed art, but I find it's really heavy, and that's a bit painful in your inventory. It's in the right properties is really great, but it's also an expense that you have to replace the glass, or you can't use the picture as many times as you would be able to use like a floating one, or frameless one like what's behind me. Not that those are always suitable to the property, mind you. But one of the things I don't like, I find there's a challenge about framed art is the mat size. Because if you have a small piece, let's say it's like 8 by 10 or 11 by 14, and you have a big mat in there, and so then your art size is only going to be, well, not maybe 3 by 3, but it's like 5 by 7. And so the actual piece of art that actually has the color and the most visual interest is pretty small in comparison to the size of the picture as well. So a lot of the visual interest is lost in the mat. I'm not saying all art is like that, but you have to pay attention to that because that will make a difference as well. Someone was asking about rug sizes. So I think, interestingly with staging, We don't always have the perfect rug size for every space. I mean, it's quite common that we're not. So there's a couple of tricks to do when you're staging a property. I only like to use. Actually, Denise, I tell you the other thing too that's a big deal is that it's not just the ease and this and that it'll last longer, but it's way cheaper to buy frameless art if that's what you're trying to do as well. So think about your market, your audience, and the amount of effort and work that you want to do. For example, if you're working with an audience where you really want to do, you want to be able to do really affordable staging, you don't want to have framed art, or because that's going to up your costs and your investment in inventory, et cetera, too. So you want to think about that as well. So carpets and rugs. So the thing with a rug is that it really anchors a space. So I never put a rug under a dining room table because I really want to anchor usually the living room. I don't need to anchor both. I want to anchor the living room because the furniture is usually in the living room is the space that I'm trying to, is the one that's more complicated. When you put a rug underneath the dining room table and chairs, it just gets lost under there, and it actually has to be quite big in order for it to work. So I don't want to waste my $150 rug my rental sitting underneath the dining room table and chairs. I'd rather use something quite, I was going to say spectacular. I don't know if my rugs were ever spectacular, but let's say it was. I'd rather that be in my living room and that you're drawn to that living room space because that's going to be the more significant space. And that rug is going to help define that space, especially if it's awkward, like if it's either a drop in the ocean, the area that you're working on, or it's too big an area and you want to make it feel smaller. You'll put a rug that fits in within the furniture. So usually 5x8. I have several 5x8s and a few 8x10s, but for the most, I think it's 8x10. But for the most part, between those two, you can make it work as well. Another tip is that when you are putting furniture on a rug, you either want all your the front feet of all your furniture on that rug, or no feet on that furniture, or every foot on that furniture. So you kind of it's one or the other. You don't do it halfway. So it's either all the front feet of every piece of furniture on that rug, all the feet of every piece of furniture on that rug, or no feet on that rug, and that will help you as well, and it'll help you place your rug so it's in the right spot, and as well. So that's a good rule of thumb for you to think about as well. So yes, Adina, it does depend on the living room size, the kind of rug that you're going to use, and also like how you're going to position it. But if the room is big, then you're going to try. You probably won't put your rug underneath the furniture. You'll put it like with no feet on it, but it kind of depends, and it depends on how can I describe it? I can't really describe it without drawing it, but for the most part, you've got the most important thing is that you're getting flow, that you're inviting people into the space, and you're creating the space that you want people to remember. So if it's a living room, like I just did last week, I posted pictures, and I haven't seen the afters yet, of a sectional sofa. And that sectional sofa, we ended up making it smaller. We used a rug that they already had, and we put it under the front feet of the sofa. When that rug wasn't there, the sectional just looked like it was floating in the middle of the room. If we had done something too small, we would have had to move our furniture closer to the fireplace so that it looked like it was like one nice little space. But with the bigger one, we were able to make the room feel bigger as well and invite people in. So it really depends also on the space. Okay. Yeah, Denise, you can definitely do some beautiful things with art. And if you're patient enough, and the other thing too, just to go back to art and rugs and all those things, those are all, the layering, right? The finishing touches, the things that make a space look really great. And the drama, really comes from bigger stuff, bigger pieces, more color. And that's really what you're kind of working towards. What was I was going to say something about that, and then when you're choosing your rugs, you really want to make sure that they reflect the style, not so much the style of the furniture, but the style of the room that you're trying to portray. So if the room and the look and the feel, so if the room is like a family room, then you might be using a shag rug. And I think it's more important often to use the style of choose the style of the rug over the size of the rug, because if you used a shag rug in a formal room, it wouldn't have the same impact just because it was the right size. You might want something that has like very low pile or a nice pattern in it. But if you have a family room, then you want to have, like I had a big jute rug. It was a beautiful big jute rug with the felt things, and I would never use that in a sitting room, but it was perfect in a family room. Even though it wasn't very big, it instantly gave that feeling of this is a cozy space to be, and a comfortable space to be, and an informal space. And it wasn't very big, but it always fit perfectly and did the job that it intended to do. So you want to use your inventory to create those layers and to create that feeling. And that's again, when you're starting your inventory, we have the luxury of being able to pick and choose all those great things. We could go and buy beautiful things, but we need those things to make us money. So you kind of want to, in the same way that you build up on layers when you're staging, and you're like with your carpet, your sofa, your pillows, your accessories, and you build in the layers. You want to think about that same thing when you're building your inventory, because you need those foundation items and those things like the white comforters and the white towels to then build on with your accessories. So, for example, if you're using white bedding, and there are a few stagers who exclusively use white bedding. I think Meredith Bear. All her properties are all white bedding. So if you makes it really easy if you're purchasing, because you can purchase in bulk and you've already got white bedding. But the great thing about having the white bedding is then you add in the throw pillows with color and texture and shape, and you add, that's where you're creating the visual interest, is with that. But against the white backdrop, it always looks really easy. So you're building those layers as well. And you want to think about your inventory in that same way. What else did I have in my little thing I want to tell you? So marketing is always like a big deal when you're starting your business as well. And so we talked about the business card, which is not really a marketing tool. It is an information tool. It's like how they're going to contact you. So you got to make sure you have that. And it doesn't matter if you haven't created your logo yet, but you want to be able to get out there and say, here's my name and here's my card, and please call me. And so that you have that. You don't want to not have not having a card stop you from introducing yourself and talking about your business. And so just something with your name and your contact details is that important. So you can be building your logo and building your website as you're building your business. But the interesting thing about any small business, any business, is that, I'll say particularly as a small business, is that we start our business as salespeople, and we continue to build our business as salespeople until we have paying clients. Because even though we got into the business because we love what we do, we have to sell it because we have to have paying clients. Otherwise, we're not going to be a business. So having that card, even without your logo, nobody's going to notice you don't have your logo. They just need to know how to get you. And if they can't get you, then they're not going to be a paying client. And as I said, that's what we need. So that is really the priority. And if everything that you do is thinking about how's that going to affect my revenue? Like when you're buying your inventory, how's that going to affect my revenues? One of the things too, when you're thinking about your inventory, so you could take that percentage out of each job and use it to invest in your inventory. But the other thing that you can do as well, and this is, I think, where I was sort of leading to, is the industry is shifting so much that when you are starting your business, you really want to think about your budget for building inventory. And it doesn't mean that you spend, like if you have $10,000 and you think that's what you're going to spend on your inventory, it means that I'm going to spend $3,000 right now because I'm going to buy white bedding and white pillows and lamps, and I'm going to be able to go into a property and stage without the stress of getting my inventory in place. And then 3 months from now, after I've done 3 or 4 jobs and I've got some revenues building from that, and I know what I'm going to use, then I've got still a budget of $5,000 to $5,000 to $7,000 that maybe now I realize, you know what, I really want sofas. Now, having done those 3 jobs or 4 jobs, I know I want sofas in my inventory. And then you go out and you invest that way. But you really want to be planning ahead, and you want to know what kind of budget you're going to plan for. And sometimes we're going to be off because this is our first year, but you need to know how much you're going to spend. The amount of stagers I know who stress all the time, especially now because they're needing to have inventory. In 7 years, going on 8 years, I have never done a property where I did not bring in at least one thing, actually more than one thing, but at least a bin full of accessories. Every house can benefit from bringing in the right inventory and adding something to the property, some bit of wow to the property. And so I think if we go into it with that, knowing that in the 8 years I've been in business, it's actually changed considerably, and there's an expectation, thanks to HGTV, that every property is going to look like the Property Brothers did it. Then we have to have some inventory, but we have to plan strategically ahead. We can't be being reactive all the time to what's going on in the market. We need to find that happy place, which is kind of hard, I know, but this is our first year, so we're testing the waters. But we have to find that happy place where we're going to actually invest the right amount of money in the right inventory, and then at the same time not have inventory that it isn't the right inventory sitting in a warehouse that's not making us money. So those are kind of, I know it's a little bit hard, those two things, but and that's why you don't want to spend so much upfront on inventory when you actually haven't been doing any work yet. Because, when I was teaching for CSP, one of the things I always used to say to new stagers was, I know you love to shop. We all love to shop. We all love an excuse to go to HomeSense or Home Goods or Winners and buy pillows and buy art, because we love doing that. So you can go out and start building your inventory, but I guarantee you, as soon as you have jobs on your calendar, you're going to want to go out again. So you want to get your, wet your taste buds a little bit and go out and buy some inventory, but you don't want to buy so much that, because I know that your first job is going to come along and you're not going to say, oh, I've got inventory, I don't need to buy any. You're going to want to go shop. Come on. So, yes. And Denise, that's what you do, is you shop usually when you get the inventory. That's a great way to start. But as I said, I think that we're at a time now where the industry is shifting, and you want to there's definitely things that you could be doing to invest in your inventory as you start and keep going. That it's a longer process to, build your inventory and build your business when you are only using the money from each job. I certainly did that. But I'm watching other stagers now that I'm training who are going out and they have put aside $10,000 budgets or their Visa card balance for inventory, and they're buying as they need it in their first few jobs, and they're doing vacant jobs because they decided they had a budget ahead of time in order to be able to do that. And so I think it's and then because they did that, they're actually bringing in revenues that are going straight into their pocket that pay off their investment from the beginning. So I think you have those two options that you can try for sure. So adding to the marketing piece. So marketing, there's lots of different things that you can do that are marketing related that have no cost to you, that are really inexpensive. They might take you a little bit of time, but they're a really great way to start getting your business going. So using social media to promote yourself is really great value add. Don't be afraid of social media. Don't be afraid of the privacy. Don't worry about what it means or that it's something that you don't know, because social media means that other people see you, and very likely your clients are looking for or looking at what they want on social media. For example, you would want to have, if you go into all the social media platforms that you like to use or more, so like Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and you can use YouTube and do your some videos on YouTube. I really do recommend that. Use Instagram. I was talking to a stager yesterday. She's decided to pay someone monthly to manage her Instagram account. I can't wait to see how that works, because I think that, again, we're such a visual industry. There's more and more stagers daily on Instagram, but it is a great way to show off what you do without having to actually say very much about it. So having someone being able to take your before and afters or your success stories and post them for you is a great way to do it. Now, obviously, in the beginning of our business, that's not necessarily what we're going to be able to do, but those are the kinds of places you want to have your profile. You want to be able to post what you do. So you want to be where your clients are going to be. And that kind of leads to have you identified who your target market is. I know it's an early thing to do, especially if you've never had a business before, to identify who it is that you want to sell and who you sell to and who you want to work with. But it's really important to start thinking about that seriously, to start jotting down things that are important to you about your buyers, because, or your customers, because what you don't want, and this is, for the seasoned stagers that are on here today, and that listen to this, it's always frustrating to see new stagers do this, because you don't need to, which is that you take every job that comes your way. Now, obviously, one of the big things that we need when we're starting our business is validation, and we get validation by paying client, and that someone will pay for us, and we have money that goes in the bank. So, and that's absolutely understandable. The challenge with that, though, is that you end up working with people who make you feel bad, that you're struggling, that you maybe didn't make enough money on the job because they didn't necessarily buy into the value of staging, but they said they'd do it, or they wanted more, or they said it was too expensive, so I gave them a deal, or I thought I'd give it away this time because they said that they had like tons more work for me, which is never true. So don't ever go down that road. If you don't hear anything else I say, that is like a big thing, is that agents will say, or builders will say, oh, I have like 4 more jobs coming this year, or if you work out, we'll use you on every job. So if you give us a deal on this one now, we'll get you in for every job. Do not buy that. Your value applies to every job you do, and you need to bill accordingly for those jobs and price accordingly for your value. It does not pay to give away work. It does not pay to give away a consult. You can use a consult as a draw tool or something, but do not give away your staging. I just, the house with that sectional, I have to admit to you that after 7 years, she's a really good friend of mine, like seriously good friend of mine. And she told me the realtor was going to pay $3,000. So I did a whole bunch of work. Then I discovered, oh no, he's only paying $2,000. And meanwhile, I have put in so much work into this property. And I'm like, and what, on a job that I didn't think I was going to need an assistant, or I didn't think I really needed inventory, I realized I can't do this house without an assistant, and I can't do it without inventory. And I'd already put far more effort into the job than I needed to. So even I, at this stage, I still make mistakes about that, but but I don't want you to knowingly go in to a situation and have that happen. So you want to make sure you don't give your work away, that you charge accordingly. There's no discounts. There's no, you do one job and you're experienced. You are way more experienced than anybody else is going to be coming in. Like, your realtor isn't going to have your experience. The homeowner doesn't know what they're doing because they don't know anything about staging. They don't have a design background or decorating knowledge or passion. They just want to make a good money on the sale of their property. They are hiring you because you're the expert. So don't let them fool you into thinking that they can get a better deal, or that they don't need you, because they do need you, or otherwise they wouldn't be talking to you. So you need to charge your value. And remember, they came to you, so they are prepared to pay. They know you don't come free, and you should never ever let yourself do that. So anyway, that's a little pep talk on that, because and if you run into it, post it in the group or text me or message me, because I'll walk you off that cliff, because you do not need to go down that road ever, 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 ever. Okay. What else do I have? I still can't see my little list here, but of things. So what else? So one of the things that I think is really very important, I can see one of my pages of my things I wanted to talk about is, oh yes, where I was going to talk about the ideal client for a second. Now, I've talked about the ideal client. I think it really makes a big difference to your happiness in your business and and your success in your business, because you sell to the right people and you market to the right people, and you're happy with how you work together. So it is really critical to start identifying who those people would be. And sometimes part of that decision comes around where they're located, the kind of properties that they have. Like, do you want to work in condos? Do you want to do condos? Do you want to do vacant properties solely? Do you think you really want to do occupieds and carry very little inventory, or are you just going to focus on consultations? And so you need to find the people who that's what they want, and in the areas that you want to work in. Do you want to work in luxury homes? And in which case you have to start looking at people who have money to spend, because not every luxury homeowner has money to spend or wants to spend it or sees value in it. So be careful of that. So when you know the luxury market, it's that luxury buyer that you're looking for within that market as well. And also to identify, is that target market or that person, is that the agent, or is that the seller, or is that the agent's sellers? And so then you need to know who you're targeting, because really your ideal client really becomes your agent, because it's your agent who's going to give you multiple listings, and it's usually their ideal client, which are the ones that you love to work with, that have the properties, because they've also have their ideal client as well, right? So their ideal client is going to have the properties and the budgets and the things that are going to really work for your business. So you need to know that as well. Now, I just saw a question. Let me see if I can roll this down. Would you put a bed under a window in a master bedroom if the window was opposite the door and you had a blank wall you could use instead? I advise you never to put the bed under a window unless you are in a pickle otherwise. Sometimes so what you want is the door. And so if someone's standing at the door, you want them to be able to see the head of the bed diagonally across from them. And that way they get like this big, beautiful picture painting of this room because you've dressed the bed. And they also have a full view of the window, and they can walk to the window. And that is the feature. That's what you're selling, not the bed. And you're selling the window and what's happening through the window. And so it's really important that your buyers can get there. So the flow of the room really works. And as they go to that window, now, if you then ran into the problem, which I actually ran into this with this house the other day, that the bedroom was small, and when the bed came out diagonally across the wall, it actually impeded the path to the window. So in that case, we put the bed underneath the window, but it was a twin, and we put it off to the side. So what you will really want to show in a room is as much square footage on the floor as possible. You don't want to jam the bed into the wall under the window, but you can in a secondary room especially, I often will put the bed opposite the wall, opposite the door, a diagonal, and I'll use one nightstand and a lamp. And then I might have like 18 to maybe 24 inches on the other side closer to the wall, to the window wall, so that it shows more square footage. So if that's a small room, that would show it as bigger because you can see more square footage. So that, I don't know if that was very clear, but that would be one thing. But yeah, you don't want to put a bed underneath underneath the window, especially if it's got a headboard, because your headboard is just going to block the window. And it's not the headboard we're selling. In fact, even if you had to do that, I would say try and take the headboard off, because it's not the headboard or the bed we're selling. It's what's happening in the window. And if all they see is the headboard, then they'll never see out the window. Now, obviously, that's kind of a general rule, but I rarely have had to put something under the window. So, and Adina, how do you respond when homeowner tells you, "Thank you for your time. We decided to go with another stager"? I cry. I go have a drink. No, okay. How do you respond to that? You say thank you, good luck, and you move on. And you can actually, I shouldn't say that you move on. One of the things that you can ask them, so what was the deciding factor? And if they say, well, it was price, and then you can say, because often it's not just price, though, because they maybe they maybe felt they liked their decor better, or if it fit better with their style. It can be many things. I'll just give you one little quick story. It has nothing to do with sales, sort of, really. But my kids are adopted, and I remember when we were first in the adoption process, and we were waiting to have a child, and I remember that one of the because they put you up to be selected for a few children sometimes, and one of them, they said, there was a birth mother who just decided that this family has a piano, and I want my birth child to learn how to play piano. And that was the deciding factor. So sometimes it has nothing to do with you being good at what you do, the best at what you do, having great inventory. It has just something that, triggers with the seller. But you can definitely ask them, what was the deciding factor? And but ask them that with the intent that you're going to learn from it, not to kind of try then to resell to them. I often say, my answer often is, oh, that's really too bad. I was really looking forward to it. I had all the inventory that I thought would be perfect for your house. And then I make them feel guilty. But you just want to do it with, you want to accept their answer with grace and move on. And you can definitely ask them, like, was it budget? And if it was budget, then, and actually the thing about the budget is that's why you ask about the budget beforehand. And that's also why, if you've ever taken a class with me about pricing, and where you do the quote, where you give them multiple options and you break down that option for them, because in essence, what you're doing through the consultation and the consultation process and with your quote is you are in a position then to answer any objections so that it doesn't happen. So Adina, you've taken oh no, you didn't take. I can't remember if you actually took the consultation, the walk and talk. So the whole thing with the walk and talk is consultation is that you are building a relationship already with your clients. And so you're able to handle objections right then and there while you're walking with them. So by the time they get to the point of deciding and agreeing to stage with you, they've already agreed to it. If something else happens, you've created a relationship that you actually get to talk to them about it, as opposed to be told they decided not to use you. The one thing that does happen sometimes, I think using another stager doesn't happen. Deciding not to stage might have been an issue. And that has definitely happened to me, and they said they couldn't afford to do it, and I have no other option. I can't go cheaper. The other solutions for staging are not as good as what I've already offered. So anyway, I hope that helps. And Leah says, and I also follow up with them. Yeah, especially if they have the potential of being a repeat client. Absolutely, too. So you want to keep them, and this is something that is really important for stagers, is the sales funnel. Because if you get the right agents and they have the right clients, and those clients are going to say yes to you for staging, and then they move into the next next piece of your funnel, which is that they are redesign clients or they refer you to other people, then you're going to keep those people on your email list or in your on your radar as potential for more revenues, right? So you're right, Leah. So keep tabs on them, but you don't need to. You kind of accept their answer with grace. So I'm at 12 o'clock already. I can't believe that. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm just kind of thinking what. I'm going to give you this one piece of advice as well, because this was part of my list of things I was going to talk about, was about having a plan. So we've talked about inventory, which actually requires a plan, because you need to know. You don't want to be reactive. I think if one of the things that is very, very important, especially in your first year, and if you can get yourself in a position where you're thinking this way, is that you want to be proactive, not reactive. So you want to be thinking about finding work, about finding the sales, about meeting the right agents, about who's going to be your homeowner that you're going to work with, what kind of houses you want to stage, what kind of inventory you're going to have for those clients, and that's going to work for those. So if you decided that your ideal client was luxury, then you need to make sure you have inventory that's luxury, and you also need to make sure that you market in a way that a luxury buyer or luxury seller is going to want you. So that becomes important as well. And so you're going to plan ahead for that, and you want to make sure that you are well prepared. And it really is about being proactive and not reactive, and that's where your inventory budget also it becomes really important as well. Hi, Lorraine. So it's quite critical actually that happens. So having that plan also includes you thinking about and seriously writing it down, doing a brain dump and saying, what are my dreams for my business? And that is your goal with your business. So if it's okay for your dream to be that I want to be able to have a business that makes me $80,000 in net revenues so that I can go on vacations I want to and spend time with my kids and only spend 25 hours a week working. So that's your goal. So you're going to work towards that. It doesn't just have to be about your revenue goal. It can be about your lifestyle. It can be that you want to. Oh, you're very welcome, Suzanne. It's about having the lifestyle that you want. I mean, we didn't get into working on our own and being entrepreneurs for no good reason. There's real reason why we decided to do this. I have to say part of it was that I was too old to go get a job, I thought. So it worked out quite nicely. And I'm sure there are other people in the same boat. The employment market, and I mean, it was a gift, honestly, to worry about that, because that gift has like led me to things I never imagined I would ever do. So I'm thrilled with that. So don't get me wrong. I'm happy with the decision. But for sure that it's your dream. And it's your goal, but if you don't put them down on paper and you don't treat them seriously, you're going to find that first year of business is really tough, because it's like if you go on a road trip and you've got you want to be in Florida. No, it's not even like that. You know that you've got 3 days to travel and that's all you've got. And kind of like your first year of business, you've got 3 days to travel and you're driving down the road and you're really not sure where you're going, and you never get where you had in your back of your mind, because in the back of your mind, you decided, you know what, I really want to go to Florida, and I think I can do it, but I'm not sure because I don't really know the way. And so you drive to Florida and you miss the exit because you didn't know that was the exit, or you weren't paying attention, or someone said, hey, let's stop at McDonald's instead, and you missed. You never got to Florida. It's the same kind of thing with your business. If you don't know where you want to be and exactly how you're going to get there, you're not going to get there. And then you're just going to be disappointed. So it's so much better. I don't know if that was a very good analogy, but it's so much better to have a plan of where you want to be, even if it's just your dream, and then take that yes, I will come visit you, Denise. And then and take that dream and then put the steps in that dream that will make it happen. And in fact, actually, it's often about reverse engineering. So I want to go to Florida. So in order to get to Florida in 3 days, I have to be in, South Carolina in 2 days. And in order to be in South Carolina in 2 days, I need to be in, let me think if I could remember my states, Virginia in 1 day. And that includes me stopping at, I don't know, I'm thinking of that restaurant that makes some sweet potato pancakes. Anyway, and so you have to have those steps along the way, and that'll make a big difference to your success as you go, and having that plan. So that is very important, and I'm going to talk more about that at other times as well. And okay, Dorothy, I'll come see you too. So that's going to be very important in your success in your business as well. And do not lose sight of it, because it will make a big, big difference to, I think, Kay, we should do that. We don't need to be in the snow up here, do we? So for sure. Okay. So that's kind of in a nutshell that, and I think someone asked me a question, but I'm not sure if I missed it. Okay. No, I think we're good. Okay. So, so it's have your dream and believe in your dream and create a plan that's going to get you there. Start being proactive instead of reactive, and stay there. Oh yes, Denise, you're asking about storage bags, or that was Kay, I think was. So have what was it? So be reactive, or be proactive, not reactive, and stay proactive. Don't let getting busy and having a few jobs come up on your calendar stop you from doing that. Have a plan every week that I'm going to call 5 people this week. I'm going to meet with 2 agents this week. I'm going to go to a new networking event this week. And your networking doesn't have to be, actually, that was what I was going to talk about. Your networking does not have to be with necessary potential clients or potential agents. Networking is just as valuable, and sometimes even more valuable to you personally as a business owner, when you are networking with other business owners. And there are a lot out there, and especially in that first year of business, we have no idea how many other small businesses there are out there. And so they all run up against the same things. But yesterday, I'll get into the bags in a second, but yesterday I met with 2 of the mentors for my training program. And we had a wonderful afternoon out. We ate sushi till all I could taste was rice, and it was delicious. We had a great time. And but one of the things I was saying to them, because one of them is doing super well and really like booming in her business, and her growth in the last year is fantastic. And she struggled with trying to get things in place to move her business forward the way she wanted. Like, she felt really behind the 8 ball. And this last year, she made a plan, and she had set goals, and she made the decision that this is what she wanted to see for her business, and she's done it, which I'm so super impressed, and I'm quite proud of her, actually. And But I was saying to both of them, who knew when we started our staging businesses that staging would have evolved to where it is today? And how many people do you know who are entrepreneurs, or know of who are entrepreneurs, who have the size and scale and type of business where we make the kind of investment and we work our butts off every day like we do in the staging industry? I guarantee you will not find very many people that you know that do that. Most people who are self-employed, especially women, are in more consulting roles. Like you might be selling jewelry on the side for someone else, or you might be there's lots of different sort of things. Like you might be a service industry, but like a CA or an accountant, something like that. But most entrepreneurs are not out there making the kinds of investments that we do in our business and building bricks and mortar businesses that really deliver something of such high value. Like, I think it's really exciting. It gets me really excited. And so I can't wait to see where stagers get with that. Now, back to the storage bags. The storage bags, so there's a few things that are really, really useful when you are setting up your inventory that make it so much easier for you. One of them is, like, if you're setting up your inventory, pay attention to what kind of shelving and things are available. Now, you might not want to do that right away to buy them, but I think to know what's out there is a really good thing too. And to know what other stagers are using as storage facilities, because you can go from your house, which we all have done, from your house to a storage unit, to multiple units, to a warehouse, to a bigger warehouse, to 2 warehouses, So you just keep on growing and building your inventory. But when you do that, you don't want to also have to keep buying new shelving and new, I don't know what I would call that, like infrastructure in your warehouse. You don't want to keep having to reinvent the wheel. So pay attention to what other stagers are doing, and that will help you to make some smart decisions now about where you want to take. So, for example, in Canada, when Target closed, which was a real shame, and that's a whole other topic, but it's such a shame that it closed. One of the things that, as a stager, we were like watching the stores close so we could go in and buy their shelving that they were getting rid of, because all their, I've forgotten what you call those things, but not chattels, I've forgotten what it's called, but the shelving, their warehouse shelving, and we were looking at like how, we can buy them and put them into our warehouse. So even if you didn't have a warehouse yet, that could be the impetus if you're paying attention to that. So just pay attention. Kijiji and Craigslist have tons of resources as well. So you don't have to buy new, you can buy used, and you can get some great deals, because people are always, not just stagers, but other businesses are growing or changing as well. So, but in terms of storage bags and things, so the IKEA blue bags are like so easy to store, because you can put pillows in them. You can put 5 throw pillows in them. They lie flat. They're easy to put in your vehicle. They're easy to carry. They're not too big. And they can never get too heavy. So the blue bags are really good, the bigger ones. IKEA also has like clear ones made of the same material with a zipper that they fit all your bedding in. They're super, like if you pack your bedding in with everything together, they are super for that. But I did hear that it sounded as if they might not be selling them anymore. So if you have an IKEA near you, go and check them out. I believe they're in the bedding section, and they're really, really good and very easy to use. And yeah, the Dimpa bags, and they last forever. I still have all my blue bags, and you don't even need a massive amount of them because you just keep reusing them, and they're so useful. I like, and then this is personal preference. I like crates, and I don't have any in my office, but I like crates that I get them from Home Depot. They have a flip top. They're red top and clear on the bottom, and they're probably about 20 inches by 15 inches by maybe 15 inches, something like that. And what I like about them is they're clear, so I can sort of see what's in them. But they're also, they're not too big that I can't carry them. And I can very rarely put too much in it that it's too heavy that I can't carry. So it's just enough inventory that I can pick up easily and move, that they stack well in my car or in my truck or whatever I'm taking. And they also, they have fairly straight sides. And they're also firm. When you buy Rubbermaid containers, if they are soft in any way, They cave, which is really frustrating. And they're not as easy to carry. The handles are not as easy to hold. And they also don't always have straight sides. So it makes it very difficult for you to pack like a container with not straight sides in it, because things are doing this in your crate. And also if they cave a little bit, they do the same thing. So I find those like hard plastic ones really are the best. That's what I use, and they're like $5 or $6, and they last forever. Sometimes they crackle on the bottom, but really they don't crack enough to make it so that you can't use them. Is there anything else? Art, sometimes you can make yourself sleeves. Like you can make yourself sleeves out of bubble back and just staple them or tape them, and they last forever. And you can use those for your accessories too. I believe you can also buy them like that, but they're pretty easy to make. You want to save sometimes like the cardboard corners for your art so that you can move your art, because they get dinged up so much on the corners. You could also put them into a bubble pack. And lamps are kind of a pain. Sometimes you want to often put them in a box, which is because the shades, like pack them separately, so that your shades are in one box, because your shades will get dinged around. That's just a few things. So Denise, some beddings come in clear, sturdy, reusable bags. I also like clear boxes from Lowe's. Yeah, and what was I going to say? So you were, yeah, I use the clear bags that they come in too, but they break. Like the ones from IKEA don't break. They seem to really last forever. So, and also the ones that come that the bedding comes in, they're usually smaller because they've been like vacuum packed into the bag, right? So I find that the IKEA ones don't seem to do that. And if you're like me, you can fit your pillows in. I hate taking the pillowcases off. I never find them again. So I like to just get the right amount of pillows for the right pillowcases and put them all together. That's just usually my thing. And milk crates work as well. Yeah, and you can when you can use your crates and your tools, like the things that you bring things in to support your beds, that's also really helpful as well. Now somebody asked something a little bit earlier on. Let me see if I'll find it. Oh yes, Dorothy was asking, how did I get my first project, and what's the experience? Now, what do you mean by what's the experience? I'll tell you how I got it, and you can tell me what you mean. So my first job. Oh, let me think now. How did I get my first job? Well, I took a government program that gave me an opportunity to build my business without having to claim any of my expenses. And at the same time, I learned all the things I teach you are the things that I learned to do through that program. And it was a lifesaver. I thought I knew better than the program, and then I got a couple of years into my business, and then I started really applying what I learned, and it made a massive difference to the success of my business. And then it enabled me to go forward and do what I do now. So when I took that program, it was a kind of, in a way, another way of networking. And so I ended up having a call from somebody who was a previous student of the program, and they were wanting to sell their house, and they were looking for someone. Now, so what's important about that is when I was talking about networking, and one of the things that you can also do in that whole networking and starting your business is reintroduce or introduce your new business to everybody you know, especially the people who you know potentially could link you up with really great agents, or who have some relationship to the real estate market. And that can be painters, it can be cleaners, like the real estate market or industry is packed with lots of different people. Flooring people, like they all get to see homeowners when they're getting their house ready to sell. So they can be very useful. And so networking is not just about talking to realtors. It's about actually talking to other business owners and the people that you know in your network. And because of that group, one of the things that I became very aware of is that people have loyalty to things that they've been part of before. And I didn't know these people, but they had been part of the program, and they were loyal to that program and to the people that ran it. And so they went back to the program to find the professionals that they wanted to work with. So when you are part of a networking group, sometimes you want to think about, not actually sometimes, most of the time, you want to think about, if you're looking for a service, who can I use in that networking? And the same thing happens the reverse way. It's like being part of a BNI or a formal networking group. they are working for you to help you make your business successful, and you do the same for them as well. So that's how I got my first job, was through that. Now that was just a consultation. My first staging job came through an agent who and it's funny, she doesn't hire me now. She didn't hire me after that, but thank you very much, Leah. She doesn't hire me now to stage, because I'm like way out of her price range, which I really was then, but I could do small jobs. And so she was somebody who really ironically was the married to my brother's best friend from grade school, and we didn't even grow up in the same area. And I just happened to meet her at an open house, and we connected, and I followed up with her after I hadn't even started my staging business yet, and I followed up with her, and we connected, and she gave me my first staging job. She also introduced me to the brokerage that I became a preferred vendor with, and she was really quite pivotal actually in introducing me to a lot of agents. Not necessarily paying me for staging, but definitely introducing me to the industry. So if you have somebody that has said, you need to stage, like a realtor who said, you need to be a stager, I can help you. Don't necessarily rely on the fact that they're going to get you work, but use them to help you navigate the industry and your area, and you'll find that it's very helpful as well. Okay, so that was my first job, and it was I remember what was really odd about that job was that it was this woman. She didn't really want her house to be staged. She just wanted to say that she'd used a stager, and she didn't care less about what I was doing. And I went to her house, and it was one of those, and this is about like working with people who aren't your ideal client. She had two big cats, and one of them was got up on the back of the sofa and started scratching my back and like hanging on my back as I was like trying to report on the consultation. One cue from that is, don't sit in someone's sofa, sit at the kitchen table, or even stand and talk, but don't sit down. As soon as you sit down, you lose power and control of the situation. And I apparently had a cat on my back. And the other cat sat on my lap, and I had two sort of ties on my shirt. And I realized that it had this entire, like, my tie in its throat. And I had to like pull my tie back out of its mouth. It was all saliva and gross. It was so disgusting. I had to cut the ties off my shirt and wash it. It was so gross. Anyway, it was a very bizarre. And then she complained that we had scratched the floor, which we had not. And, it was all sorts of crazy stuff like that. So that's the joy of working with someone who's not your ideal client. Okay. So anything else? Okay, let me just see. Yes. So yes, networking is so important, Dorothy, and you'd be amazed at, and networking also gives you a really great opportunity to start talking about your business, and to start talking about your business knowledgeably and with power, and practicing it, and not having to necessarily practice it in front of a client. So that's what's really super about being able to network. It just gives you an opportunity to be a business owner without having the people that you're trying to sell to doing it in front of them. And it really does make a big difference. All right. So thank you so much, guys, for like a great hour and a bit. Oh, geez, it's almost an hour and a half. So I hope that this was beneficial, considering that I couldn't get my slides up. I think we talked about networking, which is, I know, with one. We talked about marketing. We talked about being proactive instead of reactive. We talked about having a plan. And we talked about inventory. So we talked about a few things. So I hope that was really helpful. I'll continue to do this as well. I mean, these are on every Friday. And if I know that you're looking for something particular, that's kind of how I shape what I'm going to talk about. So if I'm asked a question during the week, or if I see certain thread that looks like stressful for some people, then that's what I'll talk about. So please feel free to post away that you have questions and that you want to talk more about something. All right. Thanks, Denise. You too. And I'll be down to Florida soon. Do you know that I have only been to Florida once, and we're actually talking about coming down to Disneyland, or is it Disneyland in October, November. So maybe we'll have a Florida party, because there's a few stagers there I'd love to meet. All right, so talk soon. And what else? I missed that. What was that? when you bring in people to move clients' furniture, do the movers have to be professionals with their own insurance? You know what? You can save your bacon by telling the client to do it, telling the client to move the furniture. And you can refer them to go to Kijiji, and you can refer them to say, check for insurance, make sure they're bonded or whatever that is standard in your area, and have them do it. And you can give them a guideline of how much it'll cost and how long it should take and where they can look. But you can get yourself off the hook by not being the one that makes the recommendations. If you have your own movers, you're likely they're likely insured already. They're likely been vetted by you, and you're comfortable and confident, and you can farm them out as and collect the fee for that as well. So it depends on how your business is set up. But for the most part, I never recommend movers because to me that's such a it's more personal than a painter. Like, I'm happy to recommend painters for them to choose from, but movers, it's so personal. I hate going down that road. So I would say, here's how to find the best mover, and here's what you should look for, and let them do it. That's what I would do. Because some people will pay $20 an hour and get like 2 boys from down the road to do it, and some people will want kid gloves. So that's how I would do that. All right, so have a lovely day, guys. It's Friday afternoon, and we're heading on to the weekend. I have a 8-year-old birthday party tomorrow that's turned into a movie. We're going to see Captain Underpants, so aren't I just the lucky one? And then having 4 8-year-old boys at my house overnight. Woohoo! So I need to go have a good night's sleep tonight. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you soon.